And now in the ReliefFactor.com studios, sitting in for Mike today, here's Joey Hudson.
Hamas has, in fact, as we have long suspected, used the Shifa hospital as a shield to protect them from Israel. We're going to give you some of the details and love for you to watch us on the Salem News Channel. We'll show you that video in just a moment. Go to Salem News Channel, snc.tv, and you're going to want to see this for yourself. Newsmax White House correspondent James Rosen pressed White House press secretary yesterday about their selection of polls and how they love to promote polls that are supportive of Joe Biden, yet they totally dismiss polls that show that the American people have had enough of Joe Biden. Correspondent James Rosen today accusing them of simply ignoring the president's dismal approving ratings, and they are dismal when you compare them to previous presidents. Rosen cited the White House and the president repeatedly discrediting polling when it displays low approval numbers regarding his job performance, according to the American people. He then said that in cut number 2, that the White House believes polls only when they're favorable to the president. Here's the exchange between James Rosen and Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday.
I want to ask about polling. In February, the president conducted an interview with, I believe it was Telemundo, and he was asked about the dismal state of his job approval ratings. And he answered in words to this effect: do you know anyone that believes the polling these days? And he talked in some detail about the difficulty of getting people on the phone and compiling accurate polling. Whenever you're asked about the president's dismal job approval ratings, you say we're not going to look at polls. We look at his accomplishments. And yet when you are asked about various domestic policy initiatives, you will say these poll very well. People support what the president wants to do. If you look at the individual subjects on the polling, they support what the president's agenda is. So once and for all, are only certain polls valid in your eyes, the ones that support your agenda, or is the polling data that shows that President Biden has been stuck for 2 years at the low 40s in his approval ratings, are those valid?
So here's the thing. I think it's important to share that American people do approve of some of the president's initiative. I think it is important. I think it's important for the American people to hear that when it comes to Medicare and fighting and being able to Medicare to be able to lower costs for the American people. I think it's important to share that. I think it's important to share that that when it comes to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the American people care about that and want us to fight for it, which is what the president. No, it's not. It's not that. It's not that. We are given, anytime I'm asked this question, given an opportunity to speak on what the American people want to hear and what we are doing, right? And so there are moments, just like when you ask me about certain polls, that I can say, hey, you know what? That is something that the American people support. But in more broad terms, in general, we're not focused on every poll. We just are not. It is not important for us that we believe to focus on that. We're going to continue to do the work and work on protecting Medicare, Medicaid, and making sure that Americans have their Social Security. And I think by saying that Americans support that, that is important for us to say that from here too, because we are actually delivering for the American people. We're actually doing what the American people want us to do. So when I say that, that's what I'm referring to. The work that we're doing, what we want to deliver on, what the American people care about. And it is the economy. It is lowering costs, right? I always talk about that. The president's #1 priority is to continue to lower costs. And I talk about what he has done, whether it's junk fees, whether it's making sure that people have good paying jobs by making sure that we've passed these historic legislation that's going to create good union paying jobs. All of those things are connected.
So you tell me. And reading from the transcript here, she says, I think it's important to share that when it comes to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the American people care about that and want us to fight for that. What is the fight? Have you ever noticed how that's her go-to? how Karine Jean-Pierre always goes back and talks about how Joe Biden is fighting for your Social Security. He's fighting for your Medicare. I wasn't aware that they were being threatened. Is there someone trying to eliminate Social Security? Is there someone trying to eliminate your Medicare? Not that I'm aware of. But that's her go-to. Anytime that someone in the press corps questions her about Joe Biden and his performance, and yes, the latest numbers, NBC, lowest in his presidency. NBC's poll also is the first time that Donald Trump, they show Donald Trump will defeat him in November of 2024. But no, they don't worry about that. To hear Karine Jean-Pierre, they just focus on the issues that the American people wanted to focus on. Well, tell me exactly, what is that? Is Joe Biden doing the things that you want him to do? Is his Bidenomics that he has traveled around the country so proudly proclaiming the success of Bidenomics, is that working for you? Is Joe Biden, he's sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Part of that latest NBC poll clearly says that the American people, including a majority of Democrats, would rather that money be sent to our southern border to secure our country. But no, Joe Biden's working on the things that you and I want, according to Karine Jean-Pierre. Mr. Rosen then asked about the polls showing that a majority of Democrats believe that Biden is too old to run. In cut number 3, the president turned 81 yesterday. And by the way, I don't think we really celebrated his birthday like we should have. We're going to talk a little more about that next segment. The press secretary said that it will take time for Americans to be able to feel all of what Biden has accomplished. I mean, this is laughable because I'm already feeling it. Are you feeling it? I mean, it is hilarious that Karine Jean-Pierre can stand there and tell us that it's just going to take a little time. It's going to take a little time for Americans to feel it. I'm feeling it. In cut number 3, again, Rosen asked about the polls that show even Democrats are starting to wake up to this nonsense.
The polls that show that the electorate at large and also significant majorities within the Democratic Party believe that the president is too old. The polls that show the American people and also significant majorities within the Democratic Party don't want him to run again. And the polls that show his handling of the economy, foreign policy, all of these dismal polls, his job approval ratings, does the White House have any basis to challenge the accuracy of that polling?
I'm not challenging the accuracy here. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying to you is that, we're not going to change the minds of Americans. I get that. Americans are going to feel how they feel, and we're going to respect that. And I've said that many times from here, many times. I said that moments ago. What I can tell you is what our perspective is. What I can tell you is how we see things. And we believe experience, this president having experience to get things done is important. And we know that it's going to take some time, right, for Americans to feel what we have been able to do in this administration.
Yeah. Are you feeling it? Is it taking you a little time to feel it? I'm feeling it. 800-655-MIKE, 1-800-655-6453 is how you can weigh in today. Option 1, Tracy's going to put you in queue. We'll talk as time permits. Option 2, just leave me a quick message. And, of course, your comments are very welcome on the MyPillow text line. Love to hear your thoughts on whether or not it's taking you a little time to feel what the Biden administration is doing. She pointed to historic polling showing that former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton having low approval ratings a year before their reelections. Gallup data found that Clinton's approval ratings stood between 47 and 51% in 1995, a year before the 96 elections. Obama stood in the low 40s in 2011, while his disapproval reached the 50s and the high 40s. Biden's approval ratings have remained steadily low through his entire presidency, typically ranging in the high 30s to the low 40s.